Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mancave Live. I'm Raphael Elia.
And I'm John Jackson. Please follow us on Twitter at MancaveNY Sports, capital NY, capital M. And our individual Twitters at John97Jackson and at Raf_Elia.
Okay, so we have a very special show because, as you know, March Madness has already kicked off with the first four yesterday. So we figured we'd give our bracket picks to start off today's show. Then we'll venture into more of our classic news and stuff. So be sure to tweet us your picks, or if you agree, disagree. You already have our Twitter handles. So do that. And in the meantime, we'll give you our picks.
Yeah. We'll discuss it for the round of 64. It's nothing, so many teams. So
yeah, definitely.
We'll see.
It's not
any big picks. Let's start out with that.
Exactly.
Any interesting picks?
Okay, well, let's go down the list. You tell me if you agree with my pick, and if you disagree, we'll stop. How about that?
Okay.
That way we just run through it one time.
Yeah.
Are you ready with yours?
Nope. My phone is loading. But the first pick I do remember, Kansas, obviously, is a no-brainer.
Yeah, Kansas, Austin, PA. That goes to Kansas. Colorado, UConn.
This was a close one, so what did you pick?
I got UConn.
I said UConn as well, based on matchups, points against, all that stuff. They have a lot of stats on ESPN if you use their bracket challenge.
Definitely, I like UConn. I think they're a big team. I think they could win. That round at least, because then they go against Kansas.
Yeah, they're not beating that. It's no surprise. But anyway,
Maryland, South Dakota State. I gave in favor of Maryland.
I said South Dakota State.
You did say
yes,
South
I
Dakota
did.
State. Go ahead, I want to hear it.
Okay, let's go into the stats that ESPN provides. As we look down, it's close in opponent points per game, with South Dakota State getting scored 67.8 against, while Maryland is 66.3. So that's close. But the reason why I picked South Dakota State, look on the left side, Maryland, right? Versus top 25, they're 1-5. Now, I know South Dakota State hasn't played anybody in the top 25, but Maryland's already proven they're not clutch when facing the top 25.
No, and I don't disagree with you. I don't think Maryland lasts long, but they play pretty well, and they've played bigger teams, so I think when South Dakota State goes against...
Just to finish off, if you look at the points per game, Maryland State, 76.1. South Dakota, 76.3. That's almost identical.
But
and then
remember, Maryland played against harder teams.
I know, but still.
More difficult teams.
Yeah, and they've lost to those difficult teams. And last 12 games, we have 7-5 for Maryland. We have 10-2 for South Dakota State. All the reasons why I picked South Dakota State, which would be the first upset that we've discussed so far out of the
I guess you
matchups.
consider UConn an upset. No, yeah,
they're too close.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it an upset, but yeah.
Ranked 5 versus a ranked 12.
Okay,
that's an upset.
Then we have California, Hawaii.
I said Hawaii.
You said Hawaii.
Yes, I did.
How do you deny that California is not the better team? I like Hawaii. I think they're a great team, but California is just too good. But go ahead. Give me
Okay, California, obvious.
I also want to point out that we also have Ethan Illers, our correspondent from Missouri. He's tuning in, so we just want to point out that if he wants to chime in on this, please do, because I'm having a tough time already.
Yeah. Well, right away, I remember the reason why I picked Hawaii. I know, again, they don't face a lot of good teams compared to California. Yeah, so... They're 27-5. They've actually lost 5 less games than California. The other stats aren't loading for mine, so let me see.
Go ahead, please.
The reason why I picked it.
And do we have a tweet?
Yeah, Ethan is saying he's starting to question John and his approach to this. Hey, look. No, if you go just the better team ranked, that's not the way to go, because it's always going to be upsets in March Madness. There's always going to be upsets. In my first bracket, I just had the best teams beating the worst teams, but that's not the way to go. So, based on this conference, Hawaii is better. Points per game, Hawaii is better. Last 12 games, 10-2 Hawaii, while California is 9-3. Versus the top 25, California is 2-4. Hawaii has only played 1. They've lost that 1 game, but still.
Take this.
Okay, moving on.
But yeah, no. See, listen. I'll tell you why I picked, because I think Virginia is a great team.
Okay.
California only lost by 1. Oregon, they beat Oregon. They beat Utah. They beat Arizona. They've beaten Oregon State twice. They beat Colorado, USC, St. Mary's. So it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer in favor of Hawaii. I just think California, I think the level of competition that Hawaii's face is just not up to that. But you have then those two teams, South Dakota State versus Hawaii, going into the round of
Yeah, that's
going to
interesting.
be fun
That's
for you.
interesting.
Okay, let's move on, though.
Yeah,
into
we don't
the
have a
round
lot of
64.
time.
Arizona, Wichita State. We just announced that Wichita State's going to be in there. I had Arizona anyway.
Miami, Buffalo, Miami.
I think Miami's a great team.
Temple, Iowa.
Temple. I like the Temple team, but I picked Iowa.
I picked Temple.
You picked Temple?
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with you too much on that.
That's close enough.
But I'm just going to say Iowa beat Michigan State twice. And I think Michigan State's a terrific team. And I think
it's close, but it's a one game. It's not against Iowa. It's not against.
And Iowa
State.
also lost very tight games when they lost. So definitely, I think.
Moving on, Villanova, obvious no-brainer, right?
Yeah, Villanova against
Oregon, no-brainer.
Oregon, yeah.
St. Joe's is what I picked over Cincinnati.
I picked Cincinnati over St. Joe's. I guess
close. They're ranked 8 and 9 together.
I guess I need to defend mine a little more because
not really. I mean, they're close enough where you could pick either.
I guess I just thought they beat VCU. They beat UConn. They haven't beaten Temple yet, which I thought was a little bit quite troublesome. But I like Cincinnati over St. Joe's. I don't think St. Joe's had an overly tough schedule. Baylor, Yale.
I picked Yale.
A lot of people are picking Yale.
I
picked
Yale.
Baylor. I just don't see Yale advancing. But I get the argument. Yale's a big team, and they're good. They're playing really well.
Look at this. Look at Yale. In their last 12 games, 11 and 1. Baylor is 5 and 7. Baylor has.
Oh no! Listen, they have the momentum, and they've been playing really well, Yale. And I get that. When I looked at it, I cannot see Yale moving on. I just don't see them moving on.
Understood. Also, Baylor though,
they got crushed by
they're
Duke.
2 and 9 versus top 25. That's not a good statistic. I know Yale's 0 and 2, but moving on, Duke, no brainer, right?
Oh yeah, Duke over Wilmington.
So Ethan tweets out, Yale's hungry, hasn't made tourney since 1960s.
And listen, that
could go either way though. That could, because they haven't had enough experience, with the coaching, everybody. That whole atmosphere that might hurt them or it may help them. We never know. It depends per team.
I just feel I don't see them advancing. It'd be great to see. I don't see them going past Baylor. Duke, Wilmington. We already picked Duke. Texas, Northern Iowa. I got Texas.
I got Northern Iowa.
Okay, let me hear.
Okay. Going on the statistics again. Oops, I just switched
They're
mine.
undefeated against top 25 teams. This is true. But Texas is a good team. And I think Texas A&M is going to be one of the best games of the tourney. But you don't have Texas even advancing to that.
Yeah, Texas, the reason why, 2 reasons why. Mm-hmm. One, as you pointed out, they're 6 and 7 Texas against top 25, while the other team is 2 and 0. And then if you look down, Texas 7 and 5 in the last 12 games, but other team 11 and 1. That's a lot of momentum going in, and they're not that far away in ranking. So I gave it to Northern Iowa. You need some upsets in March Madness if you just put the better ranked team. Yeah, I know, but I feel
like you have so many.
No, at the beginning I wasn't even looking at anything. I'm like, okay, obviously this is too far apart, but I switched it.
I just think that Texas, they played one of the toughest schedules in the entire.
Yeah, and they lost some of those games, 6 and 7.
But they're 20 and 12, and that was a very tough schedule. I'm not saying they're advancing to the Final Four, but they have enough to advance past Northern Iowa.
So anyway, moving on.
Texas A&M,
Texas
Green Bay,
A&M.
Of course, Texas A&M. VCU, Oregon State.
I picked VCU.
As did I.
Okay, good.
I think we need to explain ourselves a little bit just to the audience.
I think I don't remember exactly, but looking at it since we both did it, it's probably their momentum going in, but let's see.
Well, VCU, they both had about the same momentum going in. I like the fact that VCU only lost to Duke by 8 and only lost to Dayton by 1. They've beaten St. Joe's. They've beaten Bonaventure. They've lost to Wisconsin by 1. And they lost to Cincinnati by only 6. These are tight losses.
If they switched it around, they would be ranked higher.
I think they carry it over, and I think they do well, at least against Oregon State, who I don't really think has the best team possible. This is their first time dancing since 1990, though.
Yeah.
But again, that could go both ways.
It could go both ways. Oklahoma, obviously.
Yeah, Oklahoma
UNC, forget it, obviously.
UNC over, yeah.
I picked Providence.
So did I.
Okay.
I think Providence has a terrific team, and I think they're underrated. I think they're going to lose to UNC, though. But
So I picked Indiana versus Chattanooga.
as did I.
Kentucky over Stony Brook.
Yep.
Stony Brook's never been in this before. It's a local New York school in Long Island.
Yeah,
Stony
I
Brook,
don't-
sorry, you'll probably be out right away.
Yeah,
I hope they do the upset. I hope
they,
so. I don't see it.
they have to face Kentucky.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not
not beating Kentucky.
I'm sorry.
Notre
Notre
Dame.
versus the winner of today's game between Michigan and Tulsa. No matter the winner, I'm gonna
Yeah, I
pick
picked Notre Dame either way.
West Virginia versus
Ooh.
Austin. West Virginia.
I picked Austin.
You have West Virginia. I have West Virginia. Let me just say this now. I have West Virginia going all the way to the final two.
Yeah,
I have
that's-
West Virginia facing Kansas in the final two. Spoiler alert, because I feel like this West Virginia team is so good. They've beaten Kansas.
Yeah, no,
They've
I
beaten
actually,
Oklahoma. They lost by 16 to Virginia. They lost to Texas. They've beaten Baylor twice. They've beaten Baylor twice, and this other team you have trotting out lost to Baylor by 42. They
Yeah.
lost to the same team by 42.
Hey, look.
At West Virginia University.
Upon further-
Ethan, help me out. Ethan,
no, upon
help
further
me out.
upon further review, it does look very very bold, my prediction. But it's a team. They're in their last 12 games.
You can
They've
change
won
it.
them all.
You can
No,
still
they've won
change it.
all their last 12 games. They only have 5 losses on the season. I know that's not a great indicator.
John is very huge on momentum, and
Yeah.
I agree with him.
But
in some respects, just not in this.
I expect that one to fall and burn, but you gotta take risks in
You've
March
taken
Madness.
one. I think you've.
I
Taken
know.
risks. I think
Moving
you've
on
taken-
because we don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of percentage on my phone. Moving on, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, Pittsburgh. I took Wisconsin.
I took Wisconsin.
Xavier over
Yo,
Weber
I took-
State.
I took Weber State.
What's wrong with you? How many risks are you gonna take
I took
before
Weber
you think
State.
it's too much?
I question my own decision here, but I'm gonna stick with it.
Weber State hasn't faced the top 25
So Weber's,
team,
yeah,
and
Weber's.
they've lost to BYU.
So let me try and rationalize what I did. Xavier's they're only 500 against top 25 teams, 3-3. Weber State has they have a better
yes, Ethan, I am
defense,
screaming for help. I know you never
66.9.
know, but there are certain things I'm pretty certain on, and that's that West Virginia is gonna.
Yeah, you know what?
Make it
I
past
have
the
no
first
clue, no clue why I chose that. Hey, I'm sticking with it.
Okay, UVA versus Hampton. Obviously, Virginia wins that.
Yeah, obviously.
Hey, if you're gonna argue with me,
No, you don't have it. You don't have a number 1 versus number 16.
yeah. Texas Tech versus Butler. Tough game. I picked Texas Tech.
I picked Butler.
Okay, that's a tough game. I'm not gonna
Purdue, I picked. Let's
I picked
move down.
Purdue as well. Iowa State, Iona. Iowa State. I don't think Iona makes it past. That's the most local that we have
Yeah.
to face.
I got Seton Hall,
As do I. I know Gonzaga is getting a lot of hype, and they're a big team. I think though
It could be a close game, but
I think Seton Hall has too much momentum.
I got Utah.
Utah as well. I have
Dayton.
Syracuse over Dayton.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I think Syracuse over Dayton,
And
and
then
Michigan State
Michigan
over
State.
Mid Tennessee. Now let's just fast forward. Let's not argue with the Sweet 16s real quick, okay? Let's just get
Yeah.
through Sweet 16s. I'll give mine, you give yours, okay?
I went crazy
Kansas.
on one pick, I think.
Kansas over California, Miami over Villanova, Oregon over Duke, Oklahoma over Texas A&M, Kentucky over UNC, West Virginia over Xavier, Virginia over Purdue, and Michigan State over Seton Hall. Those-
Okay, I'll read mine now. And it's going to start out funny. I got Kansas over Hawaii, who I put
Okay,
in the
of
Sweet
course.
16, which is kind of shocking. Villanova over Miami. I got Oregon over Duke. Oklahoma over Texas A&M.
Yeah.
UNC over Kentucky. I have Austin over Wisconsin.
You don't have Xavier or West Virginia in that bracket?
I have UVA against Iowa State, and
Oh
I have
my
Michigan
God.
State over Seton Hall.
Oh my
I like to
goodness.
live dangerously.
Obviously. But,
So-
before that, I really didn't disagree with you too much until you got to that specific
It was
bracket.
definitely yeah.
Your Eastern bracket is going to be funny.
It's
Oh my
going to be
goodness.
interesting.
What do you have? Kentucky versus who in the East?
for the East?
Yeah, for...
I already went to Elite 8. I'm not going back.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
So Elite 8, I have Kansas. This is where it makes sense now, okay? So if
Wait, no, we're still on Sweet 16.
Are you? No, I already read it off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was yelling.
Yeah, okay.
Elite
Elite
Eight.
Eight. This is where you see I do have some rationale
Well, okay,
for my choices.
I have obviously Kansas. That's going to be a good game, Kansas-Miami. I have Kansas advancing over Miami to the Final Four. Oregon-Oklahoma, another great game. I have Oregon advancing. Kentucky-West Virginia, great game. I have West Virginia advancing. UVA versus Michigan State, fantastic game. I put Michigan State.
Okay, so I have Kansas over Villanova. That's ranked 1 and 2, those teams. Makes sense, right? Oregon over Oklahoma, ranked 1 and 2. UNC over Austin, 1 and 14.
And that makes sense, but the fact that Austin's even in that mix.
But aside from Austin in there, because I felt I needed one crazy pick, I have UVA over Michigan State, ranked 2, over UVA, ranked 1.
Okay, now to the Final Four, I have Kansas, Oregon, both number 1 seeds. I have Kansas beating Oregon. I honestly tried. I don't want to be like everyone else picking Kansas. I tried to eliminate them. You have to understand that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't eliminate them. Kansas against Oregon. Kansas wins. And I have West Virginia going against Michigan State. Probably the only... I was trying to eliminate West Virginia as well, because I know no one's picking West Virginia. So I was trying to eliminate them, and the only time I even got close was against Michigan State. But I figured they got this far, they beat Michigan State to go on against Kansas in Houston.
Okay, so what I have is Kansas over Oregon, and then I have UNC losing to Michigan State.
Okay, that's a bold one.
Yeah, you would assume by my round of 64 that I would have crazy picks, ranked 16.
He went crazy until it got to
First
the Final
round
Four. Because then his Final Four were the most, you had the most typical.
I didn't like that. I really didn't like how I had ranked 1 and 3, 1 ranked teams, and 1 ranked 2.
And cutting the nets down in Houston, I have Kansas over West Virginia. I'm not going to give my score because I don't know. I don't know if I want to give my score. Okay, I'll give you my score. I'll give you my score.
That's an interesting
Kansas 75, West Virginia 66. High scoring game, but I think Kansas gets 75 over the 66 of West Virginia.
I have a high scoring game as well, where Michigan State beats Kansas 87-83.
That's the most quintessential Final 2 that I've seen. Michigan State, Kansas.
Yeah, I know.
Like after you pick Austin to advance to the Elite 8. Wait, how much? Wait, did Austin? You said Austin goes to the Elite 8, not the Final 4, right?
I will check that for you. You would assume by my picks that I'm having like ranked 14 teams. I have the most typical ranked teams, but interesting ways of getting there, such as beating West Virginia and Austin or whatever.
Round of 64. Wow, this is not going to take long for John's bracket to go up in flames. But you know what? If he wins, if he at least picks some of these correctly, he's getting $50,000 from ESPN because there's no way anybody else picks that same bracket.
I like to live dangerously.
We're going to take a quick breather, give you our Twitter feed. We'll give you our Twitter handles, so just hang in there for 2 seconds while we transition a little bit. You can find us on Twitter at the Mancave NY Sports, and you could find John and I on Twitter at John Jackson, at John97 Jackson, and at Raf_Aaliyah. You can also find us on YouTube at the Mancave ! And on Spreaker, the Mancave ! All right, so we are going to transition out of March Madness now, and that was madness.
Madness, and it was fun.
So let's
Crazy
get
picks.
into you guys tweet us your picks as well. Tweet us how stupid you think John's picks were, if you even think they're stupid. Maybe I'm alone with Ethan and the rest of the population.
Well, I understand they're crazy, but I went not based on the ranks. I went based on the statistics.
Obviously.
Provided and matchup by matchup. I was surprised too with some of my teams, but it's the way it goes. But anyway, in the last 10 minutes and 30 seconds that we have.
Also, Ethan he wants just to stay on it a little bit more. He says Monmouth should have made it, and I think that brings up a good point. Monmouth. A lot of people said they should have made it, but let's look at it. People want them to make it because they were an exciting team. No, it wouldn't matter. They were going to lose the first round, but I know you want Monmouth in there.
Yeah, it's good for their school's resume.
But I don't really think they were that great. I mean, not that they weren't that great. I
Okay,
think they'd be great,
Ethan does remind me of something. There has been a lot of flack that the selection committee got. They said this is one of the worst selections that they've ever done before. A lot of questionable picks, including, obviously, as Ethan mentioned, Monmouth. So,
if it wasn't for Monmouth's bench, no one would be taking this as personally. You know, you could criticize me for saying that, but listen, Monmouth, maybe they should have made it over, let's say, a team like he said, Vanderbilt, or no, yeah, like over Vanderbilt. But I disagree. I think that Monmouth was an exciting team to watch. I think they overperformed than what they should have done. But I don't really think that that's the biggest shock that the selection committee has done, ever. Like Syracuse, I think putting them in, I think that was smart because I think Syracuse can make it out of the round of 64. I don't think that's too hard to imagine because they ended bad.
Now, the thing, too, with the selection committee, you're selecting, 68 teams to start out, if I'm not mistaken, when you include the first four. They have a lot to choose. There's going to be people left out, but there's going to be teams left out. But the fans and the people going to the schools, those are the ones that are, take it real seriously. But these are a bunch of guys around a table saying, who do we think should, they have 68 teams to pick. If they forget one, they're not going to care. It's not really going to affect them. Although it really should because they've been paid to do this.
Definitely.
They're supposed to be the brightest minds
Listen,
in America.
I honestly don't have much flack. Like, I've seen a selection committee where they put worse teams in the first 68.
Yeah.
So, honestly, if Monmouth is the team that we're worried didn't get in, they weren't going to advance past it. And if they were going to just apply that excitement of the bench. So I don't think we're missing out on it too much.
So
I'm
now,
sorry.
we have about 8 minutes.
So let's touch on.
We have a lot of news, not a lot, but a lot of different news from different sports. So we'll start rattling it down.
Let's go. Come on.
Demario Davis, former Jet linebacker, has been signed to the Browns. The Browns.
Initial reaction.
I'm disappointed. As a Jets fan, I'm very disappointed that Demario Davis left.
Of course, I'm
he was a great player.
If I were, but you want to keep everyone being a Jets fan, of course. But
I know, but Demario Davis is
you take
underrated.
cuts where you can. No, I agree.
And the Jets had some cap space.
We need a quarterback. We still we have no. I'm sorry, the Jets have no cap space. The Jets have a little bit of cap space and no quarterback. I think that's a loss you had to take. I'm just surprised it went to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Anyway, Steve McClendon is the replacement for the Jets at nose tackle for the departed Snacks, which is Damon Harrison, who left for the Giants for a huge contract. Some consider Damon Harrison one of the best, if not the best, nose tackle. So Steve McClendon will have big shoes to fill. This is the second time in his career that he's filling big shoes, as he was a former Steeler. Now, big trade recently, Chandler Jones.
That one surprised me, honestly.
For Jonathan Cooper and second-round pick. Chandler Jones goes from the Patriots, he's a defensive end from the Patriots, going to the Cardinals.
That one surprised me, honestly. I didn't think that the Patriots would get rid of Chandler Jones. I think he's a terrific athlete.
Excellent, yeah, excellent.
And I think he was part of the reason that they got so far last season. So I have a problem with everything the Patriots do. But this, I just feel, it makes sense if you're cutting salary space, but I haven't heard that they've had much of a problem with the salary cap, so I don't know.
They always figure it out, though.
Exactly.
They're smart.
I don't know. Well, let's get through the rest of that, and then I'm going to address this question by Ethan because I want to get back.
C.J. Anderson, the Broncos running back, he had a offer sheet from the Dolphins, and the Broncos surprisingly matched the offer sheet.
I didn't expect that either.
Not many people expected that. Exactly. He's not worth a lot of money, so that's surprising. Martavius Bryant of the Pittsburgh Steelers is facing possible suspension for marijuana use.
Okay, and we also have Mark Sanchez going to the Denver Broncos. And I want to connect this to the question that Ethan asked, because now the Denver Broncos have Mark Sanchez. Are they bringing in Mark Sanchez as a starter or as a backup, in your opinion? And Ethan as well, I'm going to ask you. Do you think that Mark Sanchez, come opening day of the 2016 season, do you think Mark Sanchez is taking the snap for the Denver Broncos? Or do you think he's on the bench?
I really think try him out. He's done well before with the Jets with terrible receivers. He did good the first year in Philly with good receivers, and now he's going to have Emmanuel Sanders, and he's going to have Demarius Thomas.
Yeah.
I would try him out. I don't know how their cap space works. I don't know if they could afford, somebody like Kaepernick.
No, I don't know about a big name now, but
they won with the terrible Peyton Manning last year.
I definitely think that he's a starter come the season beginning because he is a turnover machine. But Gary Kubiak seems to like turnover machines and seems to turn them around a little bit.
Ethan disagrees.
No. Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't understand. Oh, there's no way. Okay, that's why. No, see, I disagree with you, Ethan. I agree with you that he shouldn't be. And I know Denver Broncos fans are probably screaming.
Oh, absolutely.
But knowing Gary Kubiak, I don't see that they got Mark Sanchez for anything, for a bench player.
It's not worth it.
I don't think.
Look, they won with the Peyton Manning turnover machine, and last year they won the Super Bowl. So
there's no need. They
have a defense. They don't need a quarterback.
Mark Sanchez, as much as people want to hate him, and his turnovers are exceptionally terrible. He fumbles the ball. He has no ball protection, but he can throw the ball. No. So just keep with that. They're going to have a running back.
Final note on that, though. With Mark Sanchez, remember, with the Jets in 2010 and 2009, he had a great defense and was able to make it to the AFC Championship game. I
have to believe that Gary Kubiak has something in mind, and John Fox, they have some, I just think that organization has something in mind when they're getting Mark Sanchez. And then he also brought up the RG3 business with Fitzpatrick, whether that's just a scare tactic. I think this entire thing has been a scare tactic. I think Fitzpatrick wants to come back to the Jets, but he wants the money, so he's scaring them by not saying that he's.
I wouldn't be surprised though, RG3.
So, but he's not getting the attention that he wanted from like the Browns,
and he doesn't want the money. He's not getting the money he wants.
So honestly, he's gonna end up coming to the Jets for a discount. That's what I'm saying. I think that's. I mean, I don't know if that's a safe pick, but I think that's what's going to happen.
So we have a few more things to say with about 2.5 minutes to go. So I'm just going to rattle them off. In basketball, really just a big news, not too big, but Nets beat the 76ers, two terrible teams facing each other. But the Nets, they scored a lot of points, 131 to 114, and Bojan Bogdanovic, 44 points.
100%. He did phenomenal. And
terrific.
He's playing against a terrible team, so it added some excitement to that game. It wasn't supposed to be an exciting game.
In hockey, Rangers and Islanders, they are tied for second in the Metropolitan Division, and the Capitals clinch already because they're just such a great team.
They're definitely the team to beat in the East.
Absolutely.
I would venture to say they're the team to beat in general.
Obviously,
they're definitely great.
Things change in the playoffs.
Islanders, Rangers now tied. The question, we have under 2 minutes, so I'll leave you on this question. Especially you, Ethan, I want to hear from you after the show what you think about this one. They were saying, is it just better if New York falls to 3 in the Metropolitan Division, gets the first wild card spot, then they avoid the Capitals and the Islanders throughout the playoffs? They haven't played well against the Islanders. The Capitals are a tough team to beat. So is it just better that they fall to the wild card spot? That way, if they have to face the Capitals, they face the Capitals in the conference finals. That's people freak out when they see a team going into the.
I don't think you could plan that as a team, but if it happens, it's good.
I definitely think. Ethan says
it can't happen. Rangers versus Islanders, in his opinion, because that would be very scary for the Rangers. We've seen the Islanders beat the Rangers a few times.
No, I know that the Islanders can't face the Rangers first round, but I'm saying if they have to, they could completely avoid the Islanders entirely if they come in the wild card. If they come in the wild card seed, unless that ends up happening at some point. I just think it's less likely. And yeah, exactly. The Islanders are scary against
them. To finish up, Ruben Tejada, no longer a Met. He has been waived and released. But that's all the time we have now.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for tuning into the bracket special. And Ethan's not convinced that the Caps make a run. They always choke. I agree with you there, Ethan. We'll continue that conversation after the show. But they look scary, and I think they're going to disagree with you on that.
With 20 seconds to go.
I'm Rafael Elia.
I am John Jackson, and this has been the Man Cave Live.